Welcome, everyone, to the MMA Happy Hour podcast. I am Kyle Anthony, your host, where today we are talking UFC London, headlined by Sean Brady and Leon Edwards. We're going to be breaking down 4 plays here on the show today. And listen, if you want to become a client, link down in the description. I already got a couple plays for clients locked in, excited about this card. Great card, really great card overall. And we are coming off also a winning night. Last weekend had one play only. It was on Chitty and Jaquani. Got the job done. Didn't need the scorecards. Got the job done in the second round to get the victory. So let's keep the ball rolling. Let's dive into this weekend's card, and let's dive into the main event of the evening between Sean Brady and Leon Edwards. Now, this is actually a really great fight. I think this is a really great main event overall. You've got Sean Brady here sitting at minus 155. On the comeback, you've got Leon Edwards plus 130. Now, you got the current champion, or I should current champion, former champion in Leon Edwards against a 17-1 wrestler in Sean Brady. Now, not long ago, you did have Edwards, who was the current champion, went up against Bilal Muhammad and did lose. It was an interesting fight, and I think a lot to take away from that fight overall, where you did see that, Leon was able to implement the wrestling, and that obviously is a lot that's going to be looking at for this fight on Saturday night here. Was able to push forward, was able to really not allow Leon to have opportunities, didn't really have opportunities to get his offense off. He was defensive for a lot of it. He was very timid in the pocket, really we just had the wrestling threat and just really couldn't get into a rhythm. And I think that's what really allowed Bilal to kind of dictate the pace. And the big thing and the big stat is the fact that, Bilal found success on takedowns. He was 9 for 13 on takedown attempts, and that again opens up opportunities for Sean Brady in this fight here. And really, that Bilal was able to, dictate the pace, outland him, and win control over the 5 rounds to get the title. Now, yes, Bilal is the current champion, and I am very high on him overall. I mean, the guy is elite level wrestling, elite level cardio, really continuing to elevate his striking. I mean, the guy is physically strong. There are a lot of things that I think that he brings to the table, but there also are a lot of things that I think that, you've got Brady, that Brady can kind of be very similar and kind of utilize some of those blueprints in this fight here. And I think the 3 things really that he can use is moving forward, pressure wrestling, and winning positionally. And I think these are 3 things that are very, very doable for Sean Brady in this spot here, where Leon Edwards, I think another thing that really allows him to kind of lose control in fights is the fact he backpedals a lot. He's a guy that can be, fighting off his back foot. He can, and I think he can be successful at certain spots. But the fact that, you've got a guy like Brady who's going to come forward, who's going to look to crash the pocket, and who's going to really even further push Leon backwards, I think that's where you're going to see Leon's, back up against the fence. You're going to see Brady being able to kind of cage push a little bit, find control time, work to takedowns. And that could be a rinse and repeat, and that's something that I think Leon has done consistently, throughout his career. You consistently see him have those issues, really kind of fighting off of that back foot. And the other part here is, I think, and I don't know if this is a hot take, I'm not sure, but I'm, as much as we talk about Leon Edwards' takedown defense, I don't think it's that good. I don't think it's really as good as advertised, as we're all talking about, as I've heard people talk about it. I don't really think it's that great. And you look over his last 4 fights, he's been taken down 20 times. Now, I get it. Bilal was one of these guys. You've got, Usman, but they're all the prototype of a wrestler. And these guys did find success. Now, I'm not, some of these guys also are not a threat, when you're talking about just a finishing upside. Is Usman really? Is Colby Covington, really? Not really. So I think that this is something where where Brady can find success. Now, I think that the takedown threat is going to absolutely, once again, make Leon cautious, make him very cautious. And he's already, and I think a big red flag here is that he's already a low volume guy. You got, Edwards, who just doesn't really pull the trigger as it is. And now you've got another guy here that's going to be, keeping him on his back foot, walking him down, making him uncomfortable. And I think that's where Leon low volume is just going to really open up opportunities here for Brady, because in these lapses in action where you're not going to see, Leon Edwards really, throwing these big combinations, keeping Brady on his back foot, or even the power, for Leon, is that going to really scare, Brady really cutting in and looking for takedowns? I don't think so. Brady averages 3.5 takedowns per 15 minutes. He's going to be looking for that path. He can continue, I think, to fuel those takedowns. I actually do think he has the cardio to do that. And also, over his last 4 fights, he has 17 takedowns. And that, to me, again, speaks to what he's going to be doing. We know that's his path, obviously. But also, you got to add in that, Brady's going to have, I think, the strength and physicality advantages as well in this fight here. So I think there's a lot of things pointing at Sean Brady. I think that Sean Brady's going to have the ability to work in those takedowns, to really muscle him, probably, keep Leon up against the fence or with his back on to the ground. I do like Sean Brady in this spot here. So I am taking Sean Brady minus 155. If you want to get, and I do see this line is starting to really get up to the minus 165s and minus 170 at certain books here. If you're looking to cut it down a little bit, I would go double chance. I would go submission or decision, which is sitting around minus 120. I think that's actually not a bad spot either. His only knockout victories were way back in the beginning of Sean Brady's career. So I think that at this point here, it could be positionally winning or finding that late submission probably. But either way, I do like Sean Brady minus 155 to get the job done. Next fight here we're going to talk about is going to be Herbert minus 110 against Chris Padilla minus 110. Now, this line opened up Herbert minus 140, and money has consistently come in on Padilla here. And, it's interesting. This is another interesting fight here. I think there's a lot of hot takes that are going on Twitter. But I do think that this is a spot we've got Padilla who's coming off back-to-back wins. And I think that already kind of, a guy who made his debut, gets victories, stoppages. That's already going to get people to kind of look at him out the gate. And he was able to finish James Yontop, Rong Zhu, and these guys are tough. That's not they're not the highest level guys, but I think they're decent fighters when you're looking at it. But he's able to go out there, push a wrestling pace, get volume out there, and found success. But overall, I just do really think there's some issues on the Padilla side. Now, obviously, he's been, mixing wins and losses outside of the UFC. His record, I think, is like 15-7. But the issue here is that who he has fought. This is another spot. Obviously, strength of schedule is not everything, but there is a part of the puzzle when you're looking at it. You got to look at styles and those kinds of things. But when you're looking at strength of schedule here, I mean, he has fought some very low level guys. Before he came into the UFC, he beat Justin Janus, who is absolutely terrible. He's on a 1-5 run in his career. Prior to that, he beat a 15-12 guy. Prior to that, he beat an 8-10 guy. So it's not that he is fighting these high level guys. Now, he did come in on short notice, come in and beat James Yontop. That gives him, I think, a little bit too much respect. I kind of feel, James Yontop is a durable guy, but outside of that, I don't really think he's got much skill. Rong Zhu, I think is decent. But, again, who is he really facing that's that elite level? Where you're looking at Herbert, he has fought high-level guys. He has fought a lot of tough guys in the UFC, and really all of his losses are against really top-tier guys. I mean, Faraz Ziam, who has been an absolute killer. Renato Moicano is just another guy who's a tough vet. Francisco Trinaldo, another tough guy, a tough out for anybody. And also Ilia Topuria, where he rocked Topuria, and then Topuria put him out. But, I mean, he was close to changing the entire trajectory, of Topuria's career if he finished him off. But either way, Topuria did get the victory. But those guys I don't put anywhere near the ability of Chris Padilla. I don't think that Padilla has what these guys have here. I do think that this is the spot where Herbert can find a lot of success. And I think that, Padilla needs takedowns. He absolutely needs takedowns, needs wrestling, needs to push that pace. And I think he's going to struggle cutting distance. I think he's going to, struggle cutting distance inside the long, rangy striking that Herbert does have. He's already going to have, I think a 3-inch reach advantage, like a 4-inch height advantage. He already fights long. He already is very good at range, high level kickboxing. And I think that's going to really force desperate takedown attempts coming from Padilla, where he's going to look. I don't think he wants to stand and just strike with Herbert. I think Herbert finds a lot of success on the feet, forcing Padilla. And also the problem with Padilla is that, his regional tape, he's a guy that can slow down when he's, when fights are getting extended or when he's looking to push, any kind of pace, he slows down. And I don't think that that's something he can do here against Herbert, just consistently, dive at legs for 3 rounds. And if he doesn't, I think he tires out. He's standing on the feet. And I think that's someone like Herbert who has great distance management, good footwork, good combinations, high level kickboxing. I think a lot of these things really go very well for Herbert here. So in this spot here, I actually disagree with the line movement here. I think that Herbert is the side here, especially where this is going to go. Who knows if this is going to possibly flip to Herbert plus money, but right now you're looking at even money right now. I think it's good enough to take Ja Herbert to get the job done. Next one here we're going to talk about is going to be Mick Parkin minus 120 against Marcin Tybura plus 100. Now, this is another one here where a lot of line movement where you've got Tybura was a minus 145 favorite, and we are consistently seeing Parkin money come in. And this is one I actually do agree with. I do agree with this line movement here. And I think there's just multiple red flags on the Tybura side. I think the first thing's going to be the fact that he's 39 years old. You've got Marcin, who's 20. He's got Mick Parkin, who's 29 years old, 10-year age gap. That's already not the greatest, but it also just appears to me that, Tybura's starting to slow down. I think that, he's already not the most athletic guy and explosive guy, but as we're seeing, he's just really starting to slow down. Even in wins, it looks like he's slowing down. His durability, I don't think has looked that good. Even in wins, he's getting rocked, getting wobbled, and he has to lean on that wrestling. He's got to find success on the wrestling, the grappling to get the takedowns, to really, lay on opponents, hunt for submissions. And I just think he's very one-dimensional. I think it's just a very one-dimensional guy compared to really kind of this next crop of fighters coming up. Now, I kind of put Mick Parkin in that category here, where I think Mick Parkin consistently is getting better fight after fight. You're seeing improvements from him overall, and I highly favor his striking. I think his boxing is pretty clean overall for a heavyweight, and I think that he puts combinations nice together. And the other thing too that I like about him is his volume. His volume is very high. He can push a good pace. He's got clean striking, got clean boxing, and I think that's going to really be where he's going to be able to keep this fight standing. I don't think that Tybura is the greatest wrestler. I think he's more of a circumstantial kind of guy where he can find opportunities where somebody screws up looking for takedowns, or somebody screws up in the clinch, and he's able to kind of find opportunities that way. I think that's more where he's going here. I think Mick Parkins wants to work at range and land better shots. And I think if this stays on the feet, he's going to absolutely outland him, find those combinations, and just overall, he's got a better process to his striking. I just don't really, I think Tybura is a little sloppy. Doesn't really piece combinations together very well. And I think that's where someone like Mick can find success. Now, competition-wise, there's no doubt that Tybura has the higher level. There's no doubt. I mean, but he is 39 years old and been in the UFC for a long time. Of course, he's going to have better strength of schedule. But with that being said, the guys he's beating are not that great, and you've got to look at that part of it where it just doesn't matter who he's facing. If he's just, can't even pull some of these wins, I think that's interesting enough where you're looking at Blagoy Ivanov. He beat him. He was on a 1-5 run in the UFC. Tuivasa was on an 0-5 run right now, and he kind of gave up on the sport at this particular point. And then also Jonathan Deniz, which is a guy at that time I did say take Tybura, because Tybura is going to be able to expose the terrible or non-existent grappling of Deniz. And even in that spot, Deniz found success, rocked and hurt Tybura early, and then obviously it got to the grappling, the wrestling, and then Tybura was able to find success and find the finish. So and that's kind of a fraud check. I think that's where you can use the word fraud check or term fraud check there. But I do believe at this point here, I think, there's one fighter that's on the rise. There's one fighter that's, on the downturn. And I think this is a spot where Mick can really put a stamp on it, has the tools. I think he consistently is getting better. And also do like the fact that he is training with Tom Aspinall. Obviously, that's, hard to quantify what that means. But when you're in the camp with that type of fighter, I think that's only going to help a young 29-year-old consistently improve, consistently get better here. So I think they're going to have a great game plan. I like this number here. I think it's a strong number here, even at still the plus 120 number, and you're not getting the plus money. As much as I like it, that number is gone. So at this point here, we're taking Mick Parkin to get the job done. Next fight here we're going to talk about is going to be Nathan Fletcher versus Loughran. And we've got Fletcher here. He's minus 115 on the comeback. On Cowlin is minus 102. Now, this is another one here where you've got Cowlin was a plus 143 favorite, and money has consistently come in on him now. And we're seeing at a pick'em price tag. And this is a rematch from their fight when they were amateurs, which was back in 2018. And not much you can really take away from that, but you can take away the fact that, Fletcher did find success, was able to get the wrestling going, and won a unanimous decision. Now, after all of that, over the last couple of years, it does seem like there was hype coming from, a Loughran, where he was kind of, looked at as, hey, this guy could be good. He's an explosive guy. All these things were kind of talked about, came into the UFC and, saying that he's the next Conor McGregor, all this stupid shit. But, I just haven't seen any of it. I just really don't think I've seen anything that resembles a guy that really is going to be something in the UFC. I struggle to see it here. He's 1-2 in the organization here. He's coming off an absolutely terrible performance against Jake Hadley, which is a fight that literally made me say, no way that Callan can win this fight, because I thought it was such a terrible performance from him. Jake Hadley came in on short notice, up a weight class. He's a small dude already, and he pieced up Callan at distance, was landing a good jab, staying at range, mixing it up, just looked far faster, far better. And just for a guy that came in short notice, I thought it was just a bad look for him. Even Callan couldn't even get his wrestling going. He was 1 for 8 on takedowns. He looked wild in the pocket. I thought there was just bad showing from him from beginning to end. And that's where I think that there's going to be a big problem here for him. And also, I think that in general, I do lean towards Fletcher being better pretty much everywhere, where I think he's going to have the cleaner striking. I think that his wrestling might be a little bit better. I think his jiu-jitsu is going to be much better. And I think that's where he's going to find a lot of his success there, where I don't think that Callan is going to be able to look for takedowns. Even if he does, I do like the grappling and the jiu-jitsu of Fletcher. I think that he's going to find a lot of success there. And one of the other advantages here, I think, for Fletcher is a cardio. I think this guy has shown a good cardio, good gas tank. I think Callan can slow down, and I think that's where Fletcher can fuel these repetitive takedowns. He can consistently fuel it. He consistently push that kind of pace, smother kind of the offense that Callan has, and I think that he's going to find success with the jiu-jitsu as well. So in this spot here, I do like Nathan Fletcher to get the job done, -115. So there you have it for my plays for UFC London. If you want to become a client, link down in the description. We've got plays up. We're coming off a winning night, and I'm ready to rock and roll. Big weekend incoming. So take a look, link down below, and let's cash.